Here's my record cleaning room. It's in the laundry room, and I wanted to show off my new little toy here, the Audio Desk Vinyl Cleaner Pro. And I have a nice little work area here where I've been able to clean records. I have down here the Chris method, where this clamps over the record and keeps the label from getting wet. That's what I use first, along with the scrubbing bubbles bathroom cleaner, and of course the paint edger. At my previous location, that worked great, and because we had good water, and I do it in the sink. And where I'm located now, the water's not very good, and I think it probably leaves a residue on the records. And so I got one of these spin cleans. I used the spin clean, and I still use the sink method, and then I'd use the spin clean to rinse off the records. But I'm getting tons of records, and of course, being an old lazy guy, having something that's basically automatic worked great. I'm going to demonstrate the spin clean here. It works very well, and I would say it works even better on new records. You're supposed to clean new records, which generally I didn't do, and it makes a little difference. If you have a really grungy record, I'll clean it first, maybe with the Chris method, and then maybe with the spin clean. And it says here that you can clean up to 100 records without changing the bath. And the unit has a little power supply that comes with it. Lots of cord, makes it easy. I'm not going to move stuff around. The power goes in here, and over here is a drain plug. You just pick the thing up, take it over to the sink, and it's easy to clean. It comes with little capsules of the cleaning fluid. You put one capsule in. I've cleaned a little over probably 200 records. If it had a couple little features I would like, one is a counter to tell you how many records you've cleaned. The other thing is it does allow for a longer cleaning cycle, but you can't just operate the drying cycle without it. So I've got a record setting here. We turn the thing on. It's easy to operate. The green light tells us that we have enough water in the tank. And I found just setting the record in there, we're going to clean this Capitol record. Probably VG plus, and we press the button down here. We hear one beep and it will do one cleaning cycle. We hold it down, we can get 2 beeps, 3 beeps. So if we think the record really needs cleaning, we'll just do one clean here. If the record doesn't start automatically, I've kind of learned how to get the things in here. You give it a little spin with your hand, just a light little touch, and it'll take off and go. And I'm just going to let the thing go here, and you can see what the dry cycle is like in a little bit, and I'll talk about it. I think drying is very important. The record we're cleaning right now, swinging at the cinema, the Jonah Jones Quartet. I got this dish rack. Paul, he shows where he has a letter holder, paper holder that works better. I'm going to get one of those, but I think it's important for the records to be really dry, and so typically when I'm playing them, I'll clean one, I'll put them in the rack, and I'll leave them here for a good period of time to make sure that the records are really dry. One of the problems with the spin clean, which Paul showed, is that when you wipe them dry with a towel, you're actually increasing the static charge or making the static charge more likely. And so with this unit, you don't have that. One of the things that came with this record, original inner sleeve from Capitol, talking about the music. I enjoy these inner sleeves when they're generic, it doesn't matter, but on these early records, they were documenting what they were doing, showing a couple of good Capitol microphones here. Our drying session has started. You can hear how loud this is. It's in my laundry room. I'll put a record on the clean, go in the living room and listen to another record, and it's not loud enough to cause any problem. The record rotation changes speed a couple of times when it's going through the process. It'll spin the record faster, then it spins it slower. I do wish that it had another button where I could push it and let it dry again. Occasionally when you take them out, you have to be careful how that you lift them out. You can see the brushes down there, which I didn't show you, that rotating to help clean the records. And I've been very happy with it. It's not a perfect solution. It works very good when you get some of those really thin records like from the 70s. Occasionally it will have a little more trouble grabbing a hold of it. And works very good. The complete cycle is 5 minutes long. That's the one cleaning cycle and the drying cycle. You can see the speed just picked way up. It's rotating around quite a bit faster now, and then as it wraps up, it will go back to the slow speed. So I'm going to give just a little more information about the Audio Death Line Cleaner Pro here, and does it make a difference, and what kind of difference does it make? Well, that's a fairly quick little video about my fancy record cleaning machine. I'd be happy to answer any questions if any of you have. Leave some comments down below, and I'll see if I can help out. One of the things is they have their own cleaning fluid. You put this in with a little over a liter of water, and they say it's good for 100 records or 200 if they're new records. Well, if the record is too dirty to start with, I'll clean it in the spin clean or use the crisp method first anyway. But I tend to be getting up maybe towards 100, and the fluid, when I've emptied it, looks pretty good. So I got a special thing when I ordered. I got a half a dozen of these thrown in with it. I'm not sure what they cost when you buy the replacements, but minimal cost. And it uses ultrasonic cleaning in addition to the counter rotating brushes. And as Paul had showed in one, Paul Paraka P. Dub has shown in one of his recent videos, is that drying the records with the microfiber cloth can actually increase or add a little static charge to the record. That's one of the best things about this cleaner, I think, is the drying method. Occasionally there will be a little spot of water or something on it, and you got to be careful when you lift the record out that you don't touch it against the little things where you might pick up a drop of water. But most of the time it comes out real good, and you don't have that problem with the drying of wiping them. And I think drying is very important. That's why typically I put them up in the dish rack, and I'd like to let them set for 15 minutes, half hour. Sometimes I'll even wash a few records and leave them up there all night. Make sure they're really dry, because you can wipe them, do whatever you think they're dry. There's still a tiny bit of moisture in the bottom of that groove, and then you drag that rock through the groove, and you know, it doesn't help out. So one of the things is, it's not perfect, but it's very convenient. It's very easy to use. It works great on new records, like you would think, and we're supposed to clean new records. It does a great job. You don't have any kind of problems. As I mentioned, some of those flexi flyer records are real thin, it may have a little trouble sometimes getting a hold of them. But overall, I'm very happy with it. And say, well, let's get rid of the surface noise. Well, a lot of the surface noise on the record isn't caused because the record is dirty. It's just actually part of the condition of the record. Short story here. I picked up Led Zeppelin 2 at my record store, the one that came in a box of stuff that they hadn't went through. Got it for $5 and brought it home and looked at the dead wax, and there was RL in the dead wax on both sides. I was so excited I couldn't hardly stand it, because that is the rarest version of that record. Now, I went and played it, and it was crackly. It was a very enjoyable listen because you got to hear some of the dynamics that were in that record, and you just ignore the crackly. But talking to Paul about it, said primarily that's caused by the records were played on poor equipment. When those old-time record players where you probably had 8 or 9 or 10 grams of weight on the tone arm and a cheap needle and maybe a worn needle. So even though the record was VG plus and looked really clean and didn't have any scratches or anything, you still had that crackly. So you're not going to get rid of those kind of stuff. You just have to start with a good record. Now, does it make a difference? Can you hear a difference? Well, I think it takes a good system probably to hear the difference, but here is the way I describe it. I clean the outside of my car window. It looks clean. I'm driving around. It just looks clear as glass. But what happens, you turn towards the setting sun, all of a sudden there's a film on the inside of the glass that you've never noticed, and now it's just like there's smoke on the inside of your window glass. You've never noticed it before. You don't smoke in your car. I don't know about that. So that's a little bit what this is like. If you take a record in really good condition, not the new records, but I've tried this with a few of them, you listen to them, you clean them, there's just a tiny bit more clarity, maybe just a tiny bit more detail, and you're not going to get that on most records. It's going to need to be a good record to start with, and maybe it makes a tiny little bit of that difference also on the new records. One other thing that I do, part of my cataloging and part of my cleaning, this is a record that I picked up for a few dollars at my store, being a ragtime guy and buying records back when The Entertainer came out, the Sting, the movie, Marvin Hamley share, near mint record. You look right here. I got just a little label there. I bought these from Amazon. I just put them on the outer sleeve, and they're easy to peel off. And when I clean the record, I write the date. So that way I know the record has been cleaned. I know when it was cleaned. And also I know that it's in my Discogs catalog system. And so what I do, sometimes I get a record and they're just mixed around with other stuff. I want to make sure that I know I got them in the Discogs catalog system. I'll just put the label, the clear plain label on it, and then when I get around to it, cleaning it, of course, then I can just put the date on it, so I know it's in my catalog. I know it's been cleaned, and I hope this was a little interest to a few of you. And like I say, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them down below. And see ya.